Hello, it's Paul Driscoll here and welcome back to the channel. And today we're diving into a proper nostalgia trip. Yes, it's the ultimate Nintendo 64 top 64 countdown. From forgotten cult classics to the all-time legends that defined an era, we're covering the very best the N64 ever offered. So whether you grew up speedrunning Rainbow Roads, blasting aliens or saving Hyrule for the 100th time, this list is for you. We've got racers, shooters, platformers, puzzlers, the lot, all ranked in one massive retro celebration. So grab your N64 controller, blow the dust out of those cartridges and get comfy. This is the RGDS definitive N64 countdown and we're starting right now. Okay, at number 64 we have Extreme G, released in 1997, and I'm also including Extreme G 2. Now the Extreme G series brings high-speed, neon-lit sci-fi motorcycle racing to the N64 with a sense of style that borders on reckless. The original Extreme G introduces blistering speeds, twisting corkscrews and weapon-laden chaos that feels like a marriage between Wipeout and F-Zero. Now, while on the original the visuals are blurry, the sensation of hurtling along at impossible velocities remains impressive. Extreme G2, the sequel, refines the formula further, offering sharper handling, cleaner graphics, improved track designs and a better balance between combat and racing. Both these titles thrive on adrenaline. The frame rate does occasionally struggle on the N64, but the sheer speed and imaginative track layouts make up for it. The soundtracks as well, with pounding techno and industrial, perfectly suit the breakneck gameplay. Though rarely discussed as a game amongst the system's top racers, Extreme G and its sequel, for me at least, provided some of the most exhilarating high-octane thrills on the N64, rewarding players who can handle their wild momentum and tight futuristic curves. Okay, let's look at number 63, and I've chosen Glover. This came out in 1998, and Glover is one of those N64's quirkiest 3D platformers, starring a magical glove, guiding a rubber ball through a puzzle-filled level. It has a really unusual control scheme which requires balancing, bouncing and transforming the ball, and this sets it apart from its contemporaries in the genre. Now, it is initially awkward, learning to master the physics, but it does become deeply rewarding once you stick at it and get good at the game. Each world is creatively themed as well, from the carnival chaos to spooky castles and visually distinctive environments that showcase clever design throughout. The game's charm lies in its originality. There's nothing else quite like it, and probably never will be. It does have difficulty spikes, and there is of course the occasional camera issues that do frustrate. But look past that, because when everything clicks through Glover, it delivers a satisfying blend of platforming, problem solving and precision. Now, it may not have achieved mainstream recognition, but it remains a memorable cult classic that adventurous players still fondly praise for its bold, experimental spirit and imaginative mechanics. Okay, let's go to number 62, and I've chosen WWF No Mercy, which came out in 2000. Now, I think that people will be quite shocked that this is so low. I know how beloved WWF games are on the N64, and they are probably its pinnacle. But for me, I really only like the earlier ones when it was more the wrestlers I was interested in. But nevertheless, this is, I think, the pinnacle of all the WWF and WCW games that came out in the wrestling genre on the N64, or pretty much any system. It built upon the acclaimed key engine to deliver deep mechanics, fluid animations, and unmatched sense of impact. It has a massive roster, branching story modes and character creation systems that was shockingly robust for the era. No Mercy became the definitive virtual wrestling experience. Grappling systems emphasised timing and strategy over button mashing, allowing players to chain move, reverse holds and tell their own in-ring stories. Presentation unmistakably late 90s wrestling, loud, flashy and unapologetic and over the top. Now, of course, today the visuals are blocky quality, but the smooth gameplay and authentic moveset more than compensate. Yes, No Mercy's enduring competitive scene proves just how timeless its mechanics are. It's still considered one of the greatest wrestling games ever created, and you might be interested, there is like a fan version of the WWF game which puts all the characters from the 80s, all the big players that we remember, like Mr. Perfect, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, etc. So it's pretty much the whole spectrum. It's a real labour of love, and definitely one that I would highly recommend. Okay, let's go to number 61. And I've chosen Dr. Mario 64, released in 2001. Now, Dr. Mario expands on the classic Falling Virus puzzle formula with faster gameplay, colourful visuals, and a generous selection of modes. The story mode adds a humorous, cartoonish tale involving Wario and the stolen mega vitamins. You've got to take your vitamins, and giving solo players more structure than previous entries. The core gameplay, matching capsules to clear viruses, remains addictive and deceptively strategic. Where the game truly shines, though, is in multiplayer. With up to 4 players you can do on the screen at once, it can lead to some frantic multiplayer battles, sending garbage capsules across the screen and to the other players. Now, the crisp visuals and the upbeat soundtrack of the N64 game just makes me happy, along with a bright aesthetic as well. Now, while Dr. Mario 64 doesn't really reinvent anything, or even in the puzzle genre, it's a perfect familiar formula that adds replayability through unlockable and competitive play. A cheerful, finely tuned puzzler, ideal for short sessions or late night multiplayer skirmishes. Talking of puzzle games, at number 60 I've chosen Magical Tetris Challenge 1998. Now, this game, of course, is Tetris with Disney, and I just love the little twist, the fact that it has Disney characters on the classic puzzle formula. You know, it stars Mickey Mouse, Donald, Goofy, all the usual players, and the game introduces magical pieces, oversized and oddly shaped blocks that dramatically alter the flow of play, and these can either rescue you from disaster or plunge you into chaos, giving the matches a frantic, surprising rhythm. Presentation is also bright and charming, with full voice characters and animated story sequences that add personality rarely seen in puzzle titles. Now, the core gameplay, of course, is faithful to the tradition of Tetris, and that maybe the variance of it puts a lot of people off. But I personally think these variations breathe life into the very familiar mechanics. Of course, like with the last game, multiplayer is the highlight again, being able to do, multiple players and taking out the opponents with strategic sabotage. But, whilst, as I say, purists will always prefer more traditional versions, for me, Magical Tetris Challenge stands as one of N64's strongest puzzle offerings, combining accessibility, challenge, and Disney charm into a memorable and enjoyable package. Okay, we're on number 59 already, and I've chosen F1 World Grand Prix 1 and 2, 1998 to 1999, published by Video Systems, and this is a surprisingly authentic Formula 1 experience to the N64, featuring real drivers, real teams, and detailed season data. Both titles in the series aim for simulation rather than arcade thrills. The handling is robust, the players need to brake carefully to manage tyre grip and respect racing lines. It's a refreshing change from the era's more exaggerated races. The graphics are clean and smooth, with decent draw distance and stable performance, especially given the hardware's limitation on the N64. The game refines physics, AI, behaviour and weather effects in the second game, offering a more polished experience overall. And whilst the difficulty curve may challenge newcomers, stick with it. Dedicated racing fans will find deep, rewarding gameplay, and it does reward learning to play the game. It's got loads of customizational options as well, and the games remain standout titles for motorsport enthusiasts, proving that the N64 could deliver serious simulation when developers pushed the hardware intelligently. Okay, let's go on to number 58, and I've chosen California Speed, released in 1998. California Speed captures the breezy, sun-drenched spirit of 90s arcade racers, whisking players through exaggerated versions of Californian landmarks at high speed. The N64 is a faithful port of the arcade original, offering bright tracks, loose handling, and a light-hearted vibe that prioritises fun over realism. The car roster is simple but varied, and races move quickly enough to provide accessible pick-up-and-play excitement. Now, okay, the visuals are mixed. Colourful environments coexist with occasional pop-in, and frame rate varies depending on the track complexity. But despite all these technical hiccups, the game's charm lies in its simplicity. Big jumps, wide corners, and a general sense of carefree momentum. While not as refined as the system's top-tier racers, California Speed succeeds as a cheerful arcade-style diversion with enough personality to stand out in the N64's crowded racing landscape. Okay, on to number 57, and I've chosen Doom 64, released in 1997. Now, Doom 64 is far more than a simple port. It's a full reimagining of id Software's classic demon-slaying formula, featuring entirely new levels, redesigned enemies, and a moodier aesthetic. The game shifts from metal album bombast of earlier entries to a darker, more atmospheric horror vibe. Their lighting and texture work push the N64 impressively, creating eerie corridors and unsettling ambience that set it apart from its predecessors. The gameplay remains fast and fluid, with tight gunplay and cleverly crafted maps that reward exploration. Doom 64 puzzles and secret-laden levels, and the inclusion of the powerful Unmaker weapon adds a satisfying depth to the game as well. Now, though it's overlooked for years, the game still has since earned a classic cult status from its bold direction and uniquely oppressive tone. It really is one of the most polished and distinctive shooters on the system, and I wanted to call it out because it does go in its own way and unique to the system. I mean, thankfully, these days you can actually play a version of Doom 64 on PC, which is wonderful as well. But yeah, still an all-time classic. Okay, let's go on to number 56, and we have Chameleon Twist 2, and I've gone for the sequel over the original. This came out in 1999 and it has the quirky mechanics of the original, but offering tighter controls, more imaginative environments, and expanded tongue-based platforming challenges. Players flick, grapple, and catapult their way through colourful worlds filled with inventive obstacles and puzzle-centric level design. The visuals are a step up from the first game as well, with more vibrant textures, smoother animations that give each theme stage a playful cartoon charm. Despite improvements, the game remains relatively short and can feel simplistic compared to other heavyweight N64 platformers. But sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes you don't want a big epic, you just want something you can just dive in for a couple of hours. But you know, I also think the unique mechanics of this game and the brisk pacing keeps things engaging, with controls being intuitive enough for newcomers to enjoy and enough depth for seasoned veterans to still get a lot out of the game. Chameleon Twist 2, you know, maybe it doesn't have the depth of some of the big hitters and what everything people do think of when they think of the N64, but for me, this is, you know, it's creative, it's got cheerful presentation, and it's a pleasant hidden gem. A light, breezy platformer, ideal for players seeking for something different from the standard collectathon formula. Okay, let's go on to number 55, and I've gone for Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue, 1999. Now, Toy Story 2 is a surprisingly strong licensed platformer that captures the spirit of the film through clever level design and solid mechanics. Players guide Buzz across expansive, interconnected stages such as Andy's house, Al's toy barn, and the creepy construction site, each filled with collectibles, objectives and charming Pixar touches. The controls are smooth as well, with Buzz's hover ability adding a satisfying layer of verticality to the platforming sections. Visuals are bright and detailed for the hardware, and the voice clips lend authenticity. The game strikes a sweet balance between exploration and structured tasks, offering replay value and steady progression curve. While it can't compete with the polish of a Mario or a Banjo or what have you, Toy Story 2 stands out as one of the best film-based games of its generation. Accessible, enjoyable and bursting with nostalgic charm. Okay, we're on number 54 already, and I had to give it a reference. It is Mario Party. I've chosen number 3 that came out in 2000. Mario Party 3 refines the formula of its predecessors with new boards, improved mechanics and some of the strongest minigame designs in the series. Dual mode adds a strategic one-on-one component, while the story campaign gives solo players more longevity. The boards are vibrant and inventive, offering creative gimmicks that shake up the pacing from turn to turn. Minigames feel tighter, more responsive and less reliant on joystick destroying inputs. A welcome evolution after the infamy of Mario Party 1. The presentation is peak late N64 and Mario charm, with bright colours, catchy music and expressive animations. While the series' luck-based nature still causes the occasional frustration, Mario Party 3 remains one of the platform's best multiplayer offerings. An energetic, chaotic party game full of laughs, rivalries and unforgettable moments. Number 53, and I've gone for Mickey's Speedway USA, released in 2000. And of course, developed by Rare, this one. This is a charming kart racer from Rare, blending smooth controls with bright, family-friendly presentation. Characters like Mickey, Donald, Goofy race across American-themed tracks featuring deserts, amusement parks and snowy mountain towns. The physics are tighter than expected, making handling crisp and responsive, and while it's not as deep as a game such as like Diddy Kong Racing or as iconic as Mario Kart, for me it offers polished gameplay, an accessible learning curve with well-balanced weapons and fair track design. I think everything that Rare does is awesome, and this has their trademark visual flair and personality that they've thrust upon it. I think this is a solid, underappreciated entry in the N64 kart racing canon. Okay, we're on number 52, and I've chosen MRC Multi-Racing Championship, released in 1997. Now this is an early N64 racer that is dear to my heart at least. It mixes arcade accessibility with light simulation elements, featuring 3 main tracks with multiple branching routes, and the game encourages mastering shortcuts and fine-tuning car setups. The handling feels weightier than many of its contemporaries and rewards players who take the time to adjust suspension, tyres and gear ratios. Whilst the content is limited, the replay value comes from improving lap times and experimenting with vehicle configurations. Visually, MRC shows its early gen roots with simple textures and noticeable fog, but the frame rate remains stable, and that's where it's important. Also, I love the soundtrack of this game. It delivers an upbeat 90s racing energy that suits the gameplay well. Now, MRC may lack the spectacle of later N64 races, but its focus on depth over quantity gives it a distinct identity. I think it's an underrated title for players who just enjoy learning the game's mechanics inside out. And then we come on to number 51, and I've gone for Armory's Project Swarm, released in 1999. This feels like cracking open a forgotten issue of a 90s sci-fi comic. Chunky armour, bigger guns and bugs the size of minibuses. Acclaim's alien splattering shooter that takes more than a nod to Starship Troopers doesn't quite reach the polish of its Turok cousins, but it delivers a gritty, workmanlike blast through hives, trenches and metal-clad outposts. The visuals push the hardware hard, with fog-laden battlefields and chunky insect models that still manage to creep you out. Now, movement can feel a bit tank-like and the missions are sometimes blur together, but there's an undeniable charm in its no-nonsense approach. Pick a marine, grab a gun and squash anything with too many legs. Two-player co-op is there as well, adding welcome chaos and turning each level into a frantic scramble for survival. It's a game that's dear to me and, I think it's a forgotten masterpiece. Armories is a satisfying, scrappy slice of cartridge-era action, perfect for players who enjoy their shooters loud, unfussy and full of alien goo. Right, then we go on to number 50 and I've chosen Mission Impossible, released in 1998. Now, like the first Mission Impossible film, this is a slow burn, gadget-driven take on spy action, much closer to the TV series and the original film than the explosive sequels of Tom Cruise films. Here, players infiltrate embassies, hack security systems, don disguises, and carry out stealth-based objectives across varied missions. The pace is methodical, requiring observation and planning rather than constant action. Some controls and animations, of course, feel dated today, and the graphics, fall short of many of the other system's top stealth titles. But I think this is a wonderful game with lots of complexity. It has creative mission structures and a commitment to the espionage gameplay. When it works, Mission Impossible provides a tense, satisfying scenarios that will reward thinking ahead. Now, though it's overshadowed by heavyweights like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, it remains a distinctive entry in the N64 library, a thoughtful, slow-burn spy adventure with moments of genuine brilliance. Okay, we're on number 49, and I've chosen Micro Machines 64 Turbo, released in 1999. Now this, of course, brings the toy-sized racing chaos of the classic franchise into full 3D, filling kitchen tables, pool halls, and garden paths with frantic energy. The N64's 4-controller support makes it a natural fit to the game, and the shared pad multiplayer mode, where you can have up to 8 players huddled around the controllers, is one of the console's great party gimmicks. Races are fast, unpredictable and filled with hilarious wipeouts as players tumble off tabletops or collide with oversized household hazards. The physics are intentionally light and bouncy, contributing to the series' trademark unpredictability and of course toy-like charm. While the visuals are simple and sometimes cluttered, it's the charm and wonder that shines through. Micro Machines 64 Turbo thrives on pure pick up and play fun, offering players and multiplayers the mayhem that's hard to replicate even today. This is a joyous, chaotic racer that captures the childlike thrill of zooming miniature cars across everyday obstacles, and I love it. Okay, let's go on to number 48, and I've chosen Nightmare Creatures, released in 1998 and published by Activision. Now, Nightmare Creatures is a grim, gothic action horror romp set in a plague-ravaged Victorian London filled with mutilated beasts and werewolves and occult monstrosities. Players choose between the acrobatic Nadia or the brute force of priest Ignatius, battling through the atmospheric streets and sewers using melee attacks, combos and limited weapons. Now, though visually rough and, probably better on other systems, the game compensates with thick atmosphere and aggressive bestiary that keeps attention high. The adrenaline system, punishing players for hesitating by draining health, pushes you forever constantly forward and keeps the momentum going, giving the game a unique, relentless pace. Combat can feel stiff, particularly today, but there's a satisfying rhythm once you get into the moves and once you master them. Okay, it's not a polished masterpiece, particularly on the N64, but Nightmare Creatures stands out for me as one of the N64's true horror titles. It offers a moody, monster-filled journey unlike anything else on the system. Okay, at number 47, and I've chosen all the Turoks. I've chosen Turok Dinosaur Hunter, Turok 2, and Turok 3, 1997 to 2000. The Turok trilogy really helped define the early console FPS design on the N64. It mixes in exploration, platforming and brutal combat in prehistoric sci-fi hybrids. The first game introduced sprawling levels, deadly foes and the iconic cerebral boar that you must go up against. Turok 2, meanwhile, redefined the formula with richer atmosphere, smarter AI, and some of the best weapons designed in the era on any platform. Now, though in the sequel the labyrinth maps divided fans, Turok 3, meanwhile, tighten things further, offering more narrative focused and streamlined progression. All three entries, they struggle with fog and frame rate dips, and of course you can play them in much better form on PC today. But back then they really pushed the N64 and delivered so many memorable set pieces. I just love championing its series ambition. They really were ahead of the curve of console first-person shooters. And I think, it's imaginative, unapologetically violent, and a cornerstone of console's shooter legacy that still commands nostalgic respect. Okay, we're on number 46, and I've chosen Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, released in 1999. Now, I adore this. It was probably my favourite scene from the Episode 1 of Star Wars, the pod racing scene, and the idea of being able to race in these sort of futuristic chariots, blistering fast. And, this really does capture it with some of the highest sense of speed on the N64. It offers branching tracks across desert canyons, icy wastes, and nighttime neon cities, vehicle customization upgrades, and gives much needed welcome depth over the admittedly wonderful but brief arcade port that this takes so much further. Really, it just lets the player do so much with fine-tuned acceleration, cooling, traction. The controls are smooth and responsive. The pod racer feels distinctive, and visuals are pretty sharp. For the N64 hardware, it has impressive draw distance and detailed environments that still impress today. I think this racer is a standout title. It's stylish, fast and endlessly replayable. Of course, you can play a remastered port today, and that's probably the best way, but this is still an undeniable N64 classic. Okay, let's go on to number 45, and I've chosen Rush 2 Extreme Racing USA, released in 1998 by Midway. Now, Rush 2 expands the wild arcade-style formula of San Francisco Rush, and this time you're in a cross-America carnival of exaggerated physics and massive shortcuts. The cars handle loosely, encouraging players to exploit ramps, hidden tunnels and rooftop leaps. And it is the track design that is so delightfully wonderful here, being over the top, mixing urban mazes, winter mountings and industrial zones with heaps of secrets. Customization adds longevity as well, and there's a stunt mode adding to the excitement, where players score points for flips and rolls. I just find the game addictive. Yes, technically on the N64 it's rough, it's got texture pop-in, an occasional slowdown, but the personality and sheer fun overshadow all these flaws for me, this racer. Rush 2 is messy, loud and brilliantly entertaining. Okay, let's go on to number 44, and I've gone for Rush Extreme Racing 1997. Now, the original Rush brings a distinctive arcade racing formula of San Francisco Rush to the N64 with its signature floaty physics, massive jumps and sprawling track layouts. While simpler than its sequel, it retains the core thrills of navigating high-speed races full of ridiculous stunt opportunities. The physics may feel odd to newcomers, but once you've mastered it, the game offers addictive, replay-driven fun. Despite the technical limitations of the hardware, Rush remains a classic example of 90s arcade racing energy. Bold, brash and unapologetically wild. Then we're on to number 43, and I've chosen V-Rally 99, published by Infogrames. And V-Rally 99 brings serious racing to the N64 with licensed cars, varied weather conditions, and authentic dirt track handling. The game emphasises technique over drift-happy arcade action, rewarding players who learn braking points and surface traction. Visuals are modest but effective, with broad landscapes, changing light conditions and enhancing atmosphere. The career mode provides depth and progression, while Time Trials offers replay values for perfectionists. Though overshadowed by the more flamboyant racers, V-Rally 99 is a strong and grounded driving experience. Okay, then we're on to number 42, and I've chosen Hydro Thunder, released in 2000. Hydro Thunder is a turbocharged power boat racer known for its spectacular tracks and outrageous speed boosts. From Arctic vortexes to tropical ruins, each course is packed with ramps, dynamic hazards and branching routes as you try to find all those boosts to send you on to the front of the pack. The boats handle with satisfying weight, skimming across the water surfaces that have behaved convincingly for the hardware. Boost management adds strategy, and sense of velocity is exhilarating throughout the game. The N64 port is slightly pared down from the arcade version and of course the Dreamcast version, but it delivers a fast, explosive fun with strong replay value. And that brings us on to number 41, and it is San Francisco Rush 2049, also out in 2000. Rush 2049 takes the eccentric physics of the Rush series and sets it in a futuristic setting. Adding wing flaps allow mid-air control and jaw-dropping stunt possibilities. Tracks mix sleek sci-fi cities, deserts and industrial zones, each packed with shortcuts and soaring jumps. The stunt arena mode is the star, of course, encouraging outrageous tricks and high score chasing. Graphics are decent for a late-gen N64 game, and the performance is generally steady this time. They've really learned how to use the hardware. Rush 2049 is stylish, fast and delightfully absurd, one of the system's most enjoyable arcade races. Right, that brings us up to number 40, and it is Wipeout 64. This brings the iconic anti-gravity racing series to the Nintendo machine for the first time, with blistering speed, thumping techno, and a sharper focus on weapon-based combat. Tracks here are compact, punchy, encouragingly aggressive and overtaking, and tactical use of rockets, disruptors and shields. While the visuals are not quite as sleek on the original PlayStation, it still manages a clean, futuristic aesthetic with solid performance. The handling is precise and weighty regarding the gameplay and rewarding players who master air brakes with perfect racing lines. The 4-player mode here is the highlight, of course, giving chaotic high-speed clashes on a single machine, which was wonderful to play. Okay, it may be not the definitive Wipeout, but it's still fast, stylish and skillfully tuned racer that stands proudly among the N64's strongest futuristic racers. Okay, we're on number 39, and I love this. This is Scars, Supercomputer Animal Racing Simulator. Yes, it's one of N64's most distinctive racers, featuring biomechanical animal vehicles battling across surreal computer-generated landscapes. Each car animal handles differently, and the game's weapon system encourages strategic attacks and defense rather than constant spamming. Now, the tracks, inspired by digital ecosystems and virtual habitats, are full of branching routes and tricky corners, and the visuals are colourful and imaginative. Okay, like with many of the N64 games, the frame rate can dip during heavy action, but nevertheless, Scars remains an underrated oddity, stylish, inventive and fun, offering a unique flavour not quite matched by any other racer on the N64 console. Okay, we're on number 38, and I've gone for Donkey Kong 64. This takes collectathon formula to extravagant extremes, offering one of the largest, most content-stuffed worlds on the system. Switching between 5 playable Kongs, each with unique moves and weapons, forms the backbone of exploration. The game's humour, environments and toe-tapping soundtrack capture rare at its most confident. The sheer volume of collectibles do divide fans, and this is why it's so low on my list. But there's no denying the ambition, massive levels, clever puzzles, and plenty of platforming challenge. The boss fights as well are imaginative, and as are the shooting galleries mini games. I mean, you get a lot for your buck with this game. It's also stacked with secrets, ensuring hours and hours of play. Donkey Kong 64 is basically big, bold. Yes, it's slightly bloated, and if you're one of those that is a completionist, this will send you absolutely loopy, but it's undeniably iconic. Okay, let's go on to the next one, and it is number 37. We have Mario Tennis. This revitalised the arcade sports genre with its crisp controls, satisfying rallies, and the series debut of a fan favourite, Waluigi. The mechanics here are clean and responsive, mixing depth with accessibility through shot variations, positioning and timing. It has the colourful courts, the charming character animations that give the game huge personality. But of course it's multiplayer where it really shines, and the doubles mode is chaotic fun. And even in single player mode, the AI does offer strong single player challenge. For me, Mario Tennis remains one of the N64's finest multiplayer titles, blending sporty precision with signature Nintendo flair. Okay, let's go on to number 36, and I've chosen Pilot Wing 64. This showcased the N64's technical magic, and it offered a wonderful sequel to the SNES original, offering relaxing yet skill-based flight missions across bright, expansive landscapes. Players tackle skydiving, gyrocopter flights, rocket belt courses, and quirky extras like the human cannonball. Each craft handles uniquely, encouraging a mastery of subtle inputs and spatial awareness. But, for me, I just find it so unique, this game. It has a soothing atmosphere and clean visual style that makes it stand out as one of the console's most peaceful and enjoyable experiences. Of course, it is light on content by modern standards, but if you're after a bit of a short diversion, Pilot Wing 64 remains oddly enchanting classic with timeless charm, and it's one that I adore. Okay, let's go on to number 35, and I've chosen Jet Force Gemini. Yes, another Rare game, and this continues with them at their most ambitious period. It's a sci-fi adventure blending third-person shooting, exploration, and light puzzle solving. The insectoid enemies, cinematic soundtrack, and striking environments create a memorable atmosphere. Its gunplay is weighty and satisfying, though early controls do feel dated and it takes a while to get used to it, but get used to it because you'll have so much fun with this game, because the game shines in scale. Sweeping alien vistas, sprawling bases, and loads of secrets bring depth and variety to the gameplay. Collecting tribals slows pacing but encourages thorough exploration of the game, and Jet Force Gemini remains a bold, eccentric gem, often forgotten about by, Rare lovers. It always seems to go off so many lists, and it's a real shame because any Rare game is special quality. Okay, let's go on to number 34, and I've chosen Paper Mario. This brings a storybook charm to the RPG genre with its bright papercraft aesthetic and witty writing. Combat blends turn-based strategy with timing-based inputs, which makes it far better for me than most turn-based RPGs. Now, these extra inputs keep the battle engaging from start to finish, and the companions that you encounter and the people you encounter in the game are full of personality, each offering their own unique abilities both in and out of the battle. And environments here are stylishly crafted and packed with secrets, while the adventure maintains a brisk, accessible pace that doesn't outstay its welcome. I think Paper Mario is a warm, clever, and consistently delightful standout RPG, and therefore one of my personal favourites on the system. Okay, let's go on to number 33, and I've chosen Destruction Derby 64. This delivers chaotic, metal-twisting automotive carnage. Races quickly devolve into pile-ups as players smash, spin, and ram rivals across tight tracks and circular arenas. The damage modelling is satisfyingly brutal for the hardware, with cars crumpling as the chaos escalates. The handling is intentionally heavy, encouraging aggressive collisions, while the visuals are unsophisticated maybe in today's world, and like with a lot of the N64 games, the frame rate can dip, but the fun lies in the raw spectacle and multiplayer. But this is perfect for players who enjoy controlling vehicular mayhem, and one that I personally adore. Okay, let's go on to number 32, and this may surprise people that it's so low on my list, but it is Super Smash Bros. Now, it burst on the scene with a simple but revolutionary idea: Nintendo mascots duking it out in chaotic platform-based arenas. The physics-driven combat, percentage damage system, and item-heavy matches created fast, unpredictable brawls, perfect for multiplayer nights. Of course, on the original N64, the roster is small, but it is iconic, full of some of Nintendo's biggest names, and each stage oozes charm. Now, the series of course would evolve dramatically, particularly on the GameCube, but the original Smash retains a unique, almost experimental feel. It's a scrappy, brilliant foundation for one of gaming's greatest franchises. It's one that I don't like as much as others. I find it a little bit too chaotic, and I've never been into fighters as much as others, and that's probably why it's so low on my personal list. But let's go down to number 31, and I've chosen another racer with roadsters. This is aimed to bring slick, customizable street racing to the N64, mixing arcade style handling with light career progression loop. The game's car roster, thinly veiled versions of the real world vehicles, offers enough variety to tinker with upgrades and performance tweaks, and the bright comic book presentation lends a certain scrappy charm. Races are fast and fun, though the physics can feel unpredictable, giving the game occasionally a chaotic edge. I love this. I love arcade racers, and yes, it's not the most refined racer on the system, but Roadsters delivers a likeable pick-up and play experience that scratches that late 90s arcade racing itch, and it's one that a lot of people have passed a lot of people by. It's one that I definitely recommend going back to. Talking of great racers though, at number 30 I've chosen Ridge Racer 64. This recreates the spirit of Namco's legendary arcade series while adding N64 exclusive content with modernised handling. The drifting system is buttery smooth, making corners satisfying and stylish, and tracks from Ridge Racer Revolution return alongside unique fresh layouts for the N64 platform. It's all rendered with crisp textures and pretty stable performance throughout, which is good on the N64. And the soundtrack pumps with a classic Ridge Racer arcade energy, and the game's pace is just fun and accessible that keeps you going throughout. Ridge Racer 64 is one of the N64's best pure arcade racers. It's polished, it's responsive, endlessly replayable, and it's one that often gets forgotten about because people focus just on the PlayStation Ridge Racer games. Okay, we're now at number 29, and I've chosen Operation Winback. This landed quietly on the N64, but its lock-on shooting, cover-based maneuvers, and mission-driven structure was quietly influential, planting ideas that later third-party shooters would refine and improve upon. But the game's laser-precise corridors, timed objectives, and spy thriller tone create a tense, tactical rhythm that still feels distinctive today, and it's one that I think just needs to be shouted out more. Yes, the controls can be stiff by modern standards, and presentation is unmistakably of its era, but there's something compelling in this methodical pace and gadget-driven combat, and I'm always drawn to sort of spy-based games, and Winback stands as one of the N64's most experimental action titles, ambitious, forward-looking, and surprisingly important to the lineage of modern shooters. is. It definitely deserves some more of people's time. Okay, let's go on to number 28, and I've chosen Mario Golf. This strikes a perfect balance between accessibility and depth, offering clean, polished golf experience wrapped in all that Nintendo character charm. The swing meter is intuitive, the courses are thoughtfully designed, and physics are impressively consistent. Characters each have distinct strength, and the RPG-style single player modes add longevity. It's relaxing yet a competitive experience supported by a great soundtrack and wonderful visuals that capture the Nintendo character charm. And whether you're playing it seriously or casually with friends, Mario Golf is one of N64's most satisfying sports titles, and one that I always find myself going back to. Now this is one at number 27 that maybe people don't know. It is Desayamon 64. It's a remarkable curiosity. It's a full shoot-'em-up creation suite on console that can do professional results. Players can design ships, enemies, bullet patterns, music, and entire levels using surprisingly flexible tools. And what's amazing, the included sample shooter is competent and one of the best shooters, but the true allure lies in its creative potential and the fact that there's a whole treasure trove of amazing unknown shooters that have been made on the platform that you can find and add to the list. I mean, this in many ways is probably the best N64 game for shooter lovers. Now, whilst the interface takes time to master, patient players can build elaborate shoot-'em-up experiences unavailable anywhere else on any system. And Desayamon 64 stands as a rare celebration of creativity, a niche but fascinating entry for aspiring designers. And I really urge people to not just put this on, but go searching what others have created and putting it on to play, because there's a treasure trove of hidden gems that pass a lot of people by. It's worth your time, trust me. Okay, let's go on to number 26, and I've chosen Snowboard Kids 1 and 2. I love these games. They deliver light-hearted kart-style racing on snowboards, complete with weapons, shortcuts and colourful characters. I mean, the physics are smooth and playful, and the courses range from snowy slopes to desert dunes and amusement parks, giving the series a refreshing variety that I just love. The second game I think is the better one. It tightens the controls, improves the visuals, and adds more elaborate track design over the original. But both titles excel, particularly in multiplayer, where chaos and charm combine brilliantly. This is just fun, quirky, surprisingly deep game, and it's one that I think is beloved by fans and beloved by me. I mean, I think it's a fantastic title. Talking of series that are amazing, to me the Cruising trilogy that came out from 1996 to 2000 on the N64 is wonderful. I mean, it captures the full arc of Midway at its racing highest, and it's a glorious over-the-top arcade racing series. Of course, the first one was Cruising USA, that set the template with its breezy high-speed dash across exaggerated American landmarks, and of course it has that sort of toy box handling but bright visuals and unabashedly cheesy 90s flair. And I adore this game. It did cause disappointment because they promised to be pretty much arcade perfect, and of course it wasn't, but there's a certain charm and I love going through this game. But I can't not mention the sequels. I mean, Cruising World broadens the scope, letting this time the player tear through cartoonish versions of global destinations around the world, and it refines the handling and sharpening the presentation like the arcade version that it's also based. And yes, it keeps the same toy box physics, but I adore that about the series. And Cruising Exotica was the final one, a full-blown fantasy whisking racers, this time through outlandish locales, real, fictional and outright cosmic. I mean, you go to space, underwater. It's absolutely fantastic, and I love the wild vehicle designs and playful track gimmicks. I mean, there's so many cars. Yeah, I mean, it even includes a car, the National Lampoon, looks like the National Lampoon vacation vehicle, which I think is just a nice touch. But there's loads of interesting track designs. Now, of course, like with all the series, there's rubber banding and perhaps oversimplicity on all of these games. It does turn people away, but it's never been the point of this game. I mean, it's designed, the series is designed by Eugene Jarvis, of course, and he of games like Robotron and things like this. He knows about making fun and addictive quality, and that's what this is about. It's just a loud, colourful, relentlessly upbeat snapshot of 90s arcade culture. It's fast, it's silly, it's instantly accessible and endlessly replayable, and I adore this series. Particularly, it's so difficult to get it working right in MAME. I find it quite difficult to get the controls just right, so it's nice playing this unique collection of games on the console, because sadly they were unique to the platform. There's no other versions beyond the arcade. Okay, let's go on to number 24, and I've chosen Star Wars Rogue Squadron. This is a technical marvel, delivering fast cinematic aerial combat that pushes the N64 to the limit. Factifies advanced audio and graphic techniques, makes this a system powerhouse, and it has immersive dogfights across deserts, forests and icy wastelands. The controls are responsive. Even today it plays fantastically well, and the missions are varied and the action is intense. It really gives a sense of flying an X-Wing or the other classic crafts you'll encounter, and it feels thrilling and authentic. One of the best Star Wars games out there. Rogue Squadron is one of the console's most impressive Star Wars experiences, and Star Wars experiences overall. I mean, it's polished, atmospheric and endless fun, and I adore it, and particularly at its time it was one of the best Star Wars experiences you could have. Okay, let's go on to number 23, and I've chosen Star Fox 64, or as we knew it in Europe, the Lilac Wars. Now, Star Fox 64 refines the rail shooter formula with tight controls, branching routes, charismatic voice acting, do the barrel roll, and the game's energetic missions of dogfighting and on-rail shooting and boss battles all across the Lilac system. It just really took the Star Fox series, or Star Wing as we knew it in Europe, on the SNES to the next level, and I think it's one of the best in the series to this day. It also had the Rumble Pack support, which was groundbreaking at the time, having the vibrating and feeling the immersion and action firsthand. I just love its stylized visuals, the heroic score, and just amazing overall package. Okay, today it is a short game, but as I always say, particularly in today's world, sometimes you want something short, something you can dip into and just doesn't outstay its welcome. And it is replayable. I mean, it's got multiple paths, there's high score chasing, there's so much to do in the game, and it's one that I adore. Okay, let's go on to number 22, and I've gone for Blast Corps. This is one of the N64's most original titles, a puzzle action hybrid where players clear paths for a runaway nuclear carrier by demolishing everything in sight. Bulldozers, mech suits and speciality vehicles all play differently, requiring strategic use and quick reactions. The destruction is immensely satisfying, and the game's constantly introducing fresh challenges. It's another rare classic here, and I just love there's so much chaos goes on, and it's got clever, tightly designed puzzle structures that just is so engaging and fun. Plus, destroying stuff is such a hoot, and it's wonderful playing a game around that, as anybody who loves games like Rampage will tell you. Yeah, for me, Blast Corps remains a cult classic. It's bold, it's brilliant, it's unlike anything else, and it's one that needs to be played by more. And that brings us on to number 21, and I've chosen 1080 Snowboarding, published by Nintendo, and this delivers realistic, skill-based pace snowboarding with crisp controls, beautiful mountainside environments and strong sense of speed. For me, it's probably my favourite snowboarding game, although perhaps not a genre or area I've gone into, but too much depth. But this holds a special place in my heart. I mean, the physics are tight, it's rewarding, timing jumps, landing and carving turns. The trick system is demanding but satisfying once mastered. It's got clear, clean presentation, atmospheric soundtracks, and it makes it stand out in the sporting genre. I mean, I think 1080 remains one of N64's most polished, enduring, impressive games, and I still say it's my personal favourite snowboarding game. Right, let's go on to number 20, and I've chosen Excitebike 64. This takes that classic NES concept of a game I love and transforms it into a fast, technical motocross racer with outstanding physics. The handling model is deep yet approachable here, with pitch control, clutch boosts and weight shifting, making every jump and corner meaningful and skillful. Tracks are robustly designed, ranging from realistic dirt tracks to imaginative nighttime challenges and mountainous terrain. The graphics here is excellent, and the hardware really, it's showcased, I think, with the title, offering detailed environments, and it's another one with smooth frame rates throughout. A huge variety of modes is what I truly love with this game. There's hill climb, soccer, time trials, seasons. It really adds tremendous length to the game that I just adore. Excitebike 64 remains one of the most finely crafted racers on the system, or any console, to be honest, and I think it stands toe to toe with Nintendo's greats, and yet is one of the games that's often forgotten about on the platform. Okay, let's go on to number 19, and I've chosen Sin and Punishment, released in 2000. Of course, this is a Treasure developed game, and this was a late generation masterpiece. Sin and Punishment is a breakneck rail shooter packed with jaw-dropping set pieces, inventive enemy designs, and Treasure's trademark mechanical creativity. I love the hybrid control scheme. The movement of the stick aiming on C buttons feels surprisingly intuitive. They really knew how to not just push the hardware but utilise the controller. Each level is a spectacular gauntlet of bosses, mid-air battles and cinematic moments that just keeps you going to the end. Visually, this squeezes every drop from the N64, and it delivers fast, clean action with impressive draw distances and effects. Unfortunately, it's a Japanese-only game, and therefore, it did originally pass a lot of people by, but over time the reputation has grown to almost near mythical status, but even forget the hyperbole about it, it's deserving in this instance, because this is a thrilling, visionary shooter that not just pushed the platform to its limits, but is an awesome game on its own. Definitely worth your time. Okay, let's go on to number 18, and I've chosen Wave Race 64. This remains a landmark in water physics. It's probably one of my favourite games of this type. I mean, the game has dynamic waves, transforming every race into a constantly shifting challenge, constantly demanding subtle steering and throttle control, but it's fun arcade action nevertheless. I mean, courses are beautifully crafted, from sunny beaches to storm-tossed harbours, and the jet ski handling is smooth, weighty and satisfying throughout. The presentation has bold colours. I love the upbeat music and the crisp sound, and it really just captures the feeling of a summer arcade classic, and just makes me happy when I play this game. I mean, that title music alone just is awesome. But it is a showcase title for the early N64, and it still stands as a timeless joy to play. Definitely one I'd recommend. Okay, let's go on to number 17, and I've chosen Star Wars Shadow of the Empire, released in 1996. Now, Shadows of the Empire is rough, but ambitious multimedia showcase, mixing third-person action, vehicle combat, snow speeder missions and on-rails sequences. It is a launch day, and the limitations do show in controls and visuals, and I'm thinking about it, maybe Rogue Squadron should have swapped places with this, but I guess it's my nostalgia kicking through, because this was amazing at the time. It was so groundbreaking. I mean, we hadn't had anything with this level of visuals that captured the Star Wars universe in quite the same way. Highlights include the Battle of Hoth, the asteroid chases and battles through industrial fortresses, and the soundtrack delivers that sort of John Williams cinematic punch. Yes, it's flawed, but it's iconic. I mean, Shadows stands as a nostalgic slice of mid-90s Star Wars, and I adore it for it. And yeah, even today, it's one that I often go to, probably for nostalgia, over Rogue Squadron, which of course I adore as well. Talking games I adore, number 16. In some ways, it could be higher. I mean, I do adore it. I think it's only because I came to discovering this quite late personally. It is 007, The World Is Not Enough. This often gets overshadowed by GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, but this game is so good. It's so polished and confident first-person shooter in its own right. I mean, Eurocom built the game specifically for the N64. I mean, ignore the terrible PS1 version. The N64 one is really doing a sort of direct film to port. It has amazing set pieces, but it's a really good first person shooter, and it really makes you feel like Bond. I adore this. I mean, I particularly love these days with some of the emulators you can use mouse controls on the N64, and that's more how I play it. And this is genuinely one of the best first-person shooters, single-player experiences that I've ever played. I just adore it. It's got tight mission design, strong atmosphere, and surprisingly varied objectives in those missions. Gunplay smooth, decent AI enemies, and well, for the era, and the gadgets is imaginative and really adds that sort of spycraft flavour. Yeah, I think it's got wonderful visuals, great lighting effects, and really shows how well the N64 could be optimised in later generations. I genuinely believe that this would have been so much a bigger title if it had come out earlier on the N64. Okay, while it never captures perhaps GoldenEye's lightning in a bottle magic, I think in many ways this is the better spy shooter for single player, at least, and I think it needs to be rediscovered by more people. It really is a hidden gem in the N64 lineup. Okay, talking of games I adore and hidden gems, number 15 I've chosen Space Station Silicon Valley. This is done by DMA Design, of course, the people who brought us Lemmings and the original Grand Theft Auto and things like that. And this is a brilliantly odd puzzle platformer where players control a robot chip that inhabits quirky robotic animals on a space station, and this gives great puzzle ideas with each having unique abilities. I mean, levels are stuffed with creativity, humour and clever challenges throughout, all with that quirky British humour of DMA Design, and physics driven mechanics. They lead to delightful experimentation, and the game's offbeat tone just gives tons of personality. It's not the most prettiest looking game, but gameplay is where it counts. Design is inspired. It really is another example of DMA's inventive pre-GTA era, and why I adore that developer so much. Number 14 is, of course, Mario Kart. I mean, this revolutionised local multiplayer, delivering chaotic, joyous kart racing that defined living room battles for years. The tracks here are iconic: the Koopa Troopa Beach, Toad's Turnpike and Rainbow Road, making a welcome return, and the items add just about the right amount of chaos, even though I don't like the blue shell that got introduced here and ever since. I think it's too much chaos. But for me, single player mode is simple and fun. There's time trials, and there's clever track designs that help you shave time off the drive and makes it more playable than the SNES original, and keep on going back to find all these little nuances. The drift boost mechanics are satisfying, and of course the 4-player battle mode, being able to play on the same screen, is a cultural touchstone that really elevated this game. It's not the most technically advanced racer, but it's enduring fun, and that's where it counts. Okay, and then number 13, and I've chosen Body Harvest. This is another DMA game, and it's for me their wonderful peak. And it's a wildly ambitious precursor to open world games, blending in shooting, exploration, driving and real-time mission structures. I mean, players are battling alien invasions across massive maps, commandeering any vehicle they find, cars, tanks, boats, even aircrafts. And the sense of scale is impressive. And each region feels distinct and unique. And yes, of course, the visuals are basic, and the controls sometimes clumsy, but its design is years ahead of its time. I mean, it's genuinely a flawed pioneer in some ways that paved the way for DMA's later evolution into Rockstar and the GTA series. Yeah, but I just adore going back to this. I mean, I'm a flawed pioneer, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably being a bit harsh to it. It's just so much fun playing through, and it was the first time of experiencing a game like that works so well. I mean, there have been games before like Hunter and a few things on the Amiga and Spectrum before, but never was so much where you felt you could do almost anything. And I love the alien invasion feeling. Then we get to number 12, and this may surprise some people, but I prefer this over Mario Kart 64. It is Diddy Kong Racing, which came out the following year in 1997 to Mario Kart, and it delivers an adventure-based kart racer with multiple vehicles, karts, planes, hovercrafts. But this adds so much more to the genre, with boss battles and exploration elements that encourage you to explore the tracks. It's just rare at its highest. It's controls are smooth, the tracks variety is superb, and the soundtrack is wonderful and upbeat and just captures all the wonder of Rare. Now, the single campaign mode is much more substantial than Mario Kart. It offers silver coin missions and memorable bosses that really makes it stand out. It's something that I wish Mario Kart, subsequent Mario Kart games and other kart racers learn from, because they tend to just focus on multiplayer. That's not to say this is bad multiplayer. It's actually really great fun in multiplayer as well. Overall, Rare built a racer with surprising depth and charm, and it's, for me, one of N64's very best games, and one I can't sing highly enough. Okay, we're on number 11, and it is Rocket Robot on Wheels, released in 1999 by Sucker Punch. Of course, went on to great things, but this is an amazing game. Rocket is a clever physics-driven platformer with puzzle-centric design, and it predates Sucker Punch's later successes. Every world is built around interacting systems, rolling, pulling, swinging, magnetising, and creative, tactile, inventive challenges. The titular unicycle robot moves with precise responsiveness, and often I just enjoy just dashing around the landscape, not doing the actual game itself, just having fun in this open sandbox. The game does, though, encourage creative problem solving rather than the pure tactile hunting, which I do appreciate as well. There's so many ways of tackling the puzzles in the game, and it's just visually, it's bright and imaginative, full of carnival themes and colourful characters. I think Rocket remains one of N64's most underrated gems. I mean, I don't often hear it mentioned, and it really should be played by more. It offers depth, originality and plenty of charm, and is well worth your time. Okay, we're on number 10, and I adore this game. It is Beetle Adventure Racing. This is one of N64's greatest surprises. It's a licensed game that outperformed expectations by a mile. I mean, you know, when you first look at it and you see like Volkswagen, you think, oh god, you know, like it's not the most exciting car, but it actually delivers as one of the console's smartest, most replayable arcade racers. That was sadly only on the N64 that it came out, which means a lot of people, it passed them by. Each track is enormous in the game, with branching routes, secrets, destructible shortcuts, and dramatic environmental transitions. And you know, handling is tight and weighty, leaning towards that arcade Ridge Racer style drift finesse with that clunky N64 flourish. But it's the sense of adventure that's a real hook. Tracks feel more like levels to explore than circuits to memorise, and the championship and bonus modes add so much length to the game, which I adore and appreciate. It also has pretty stable frame rates, and you know, Paradigm, who were probably better known at the time for their flight sim pedigree, really sort of showcased what the system could do. I mean, overall, Beetle Adventure Racing remains one of the N64's most polished and enduring racers, quirky, confident, and so much fun, and needs to be played by more. There's a lot of people out there that still haven't tried this gem. Okay, let's go on to number 9, and I adore this game as well. It's Conker's Bad Fur Day. It came out so late in the day in 2001 and probably is one of Rare's finest and most rebellious games. It's gleefully inappropriate, wildly creative platform that subverts every genre it touches. What begins as a simple hangover stroll spirals into a cinematic roller coaster involving war parodies, musical battles, horror pastiches, and foul-mouthed opera singing pile of, well, you know. The humour is bold and writing sharp, and the voice acting is exceptional for the hardware. How they fitted so much voice acting onto the cartridge, I'll never know. But it's gameplay where it counts, and as a platformer, it is mechanically solid, with varied levels, inventive set pieces, and you know, even if the controls creak in places, you know, it shows its age, visually it's still one of the N64's finest looking games, and it really pushes such wonderful high resolution textures, expressive character animation, and all that British mad humour that Rare brings to the game, and I adore it for it. You know, Conker is a mad, risky, one-of-a-kind of experiment. Amazing how they got it onto a Nintendo machine. It's a cult classic that could only have come from Rare at its peak. Okay, number 8 is F-Zero X. This is pure, unfiltered speed and one of the smoothest, fastest racers ever made. Still to this day, it runs at an unwavering 60 frames per second. It delivers razor sharp control and blistering velocity across twisting tubes, death drop straights, and gravity defying corkscrews. The roster of 30 vehicles is wildly varied, and amazing how many of the vehicles in the game. I mean, it really adds to the excitement. The machine destroying combat adds a vicious edge to every race. The soundtrack is wonderful as well, with aggressive rock metal mix, and is iconic in the game, making it one of my favourites in the series. I mean, yes, it's visually simple, perhaps, you know, doesn't initially look as one of the prettier games, but it's a performance that stands up for it, which is exactly what you want. It has unmatched fluidity, and the X-Cup's randomly generated track has near infinite replayability as well. It's a masterclass in arcade racing design, making this tough, elegant and exhilarating, and I simply adore this game. Then we're on to number 7, and I've chosen Banjo-Kazooie, released in 1998. You know, another Rare game. I mean, they really were top of their game here, and this perfected the kleptathon platformer with charm, precision and whimsical humour. Each world is beautifully designed playground filled with puzzles, transformations and character-driven moments. Banjo and Kazooie's moveset is one of the most intuitive and versatile of the era, making transversal joyful from start to finish. The game looks and sounds fantastic, and Grant Kirkhope's dynamic soundtrack really adds warmth and personality to the game. Rare's world building and attention to detail shine in every nook of Banjo-Kazooie, and it's timeless. It really is a high watermark for 3D platformers, and one I urge everybody to go to. Keep in mind that these does appear along with its sequel on the Rare Replay on the Xbox as well. That's a great way of enjoying these games. Then we have Banjo-Tooie at number 6, the sequel. This came out in 2000, and it expands on its predecessor in almost every direction, with bigger worlds, trickier puzzles, deeper mechanics and interconnected level design. I mean, the hub-like structure really rewards exploration, and the addition of split character moves, first-person shooter sections and complex transformation creates constant variety in the game throughout. It's almost a little bit too overwhelming, the sequel, but I still adore it. I mean, as always with Rare games, the humour is wonderful and is sharper in the sequel, and the quests are more involved here, and the bosses are far grander. And whilst, this ambition does lead to sprawling objectives and perhaps overly big levels in places, the creativity on display is simply stunning. Tooie is the N64's most elaborate platformer, dense, clever and richly imaginative, and one that I adore going back to. Then we have at number 5, and I've chosen GoldenEye. This may surprise people, it's here so low, but don't take that anything away. It's just simply how top brass the games are on the N64 platform. And GoldenEye, revolutionised console shooters. It set the blueprint for decades to come. Its mission-based structure, objective-based gameplay and stealth optional design was groundbreaking at the time, and so much fun. Of course, the fact that it was one of the unique ways of playing James Bond finally made you feel like the man himself. And gunplay still feels crisp, weighty and atmospheric. It remains unmatched thanks to clever level design and iconic music. And of course, you can't mention GoldenEye without the multiplayer, especially the 4-player. The 4-player split screen. It just became a cultural phenomenon. Yeah, despite its age, GoldenEye's pacing and creativity endure here, and it's one of the most influential games ever made. One thing to add about GoldenEye is there is a there's a fan-made game that uses the GoldenEye engine called Goldfinger. I really urge you to also try that and dip your toe. It's amazing what the guys have done. They've redrawn all the graphics and made it Sean Connery and follows the classic Connery film to perfection, really. It's well worth playing that as well. Right, let's go on to number 4, and I've chosen Perfect Dark, the sequel by Rare, and this redefines the GoldenEye formula. Okay, it doesn't have Bond, but it has like a futuristic flair this time with Joanna Dark and deeper mechanics, and it really does have astonishing ambition. I mean, the weapon design is legendary, with alternate functions ranging from laptop sentry guns to X-ray rifles. Levels are multi-layered, the story's engaging, and the AI is impressively reactive for the time. The multiplayer suite with bots, custom modes and massive options remains one of the most richest on any console, and the technical strain shows occasionally, but creativity and scope are unmatched in this game. Perfect Dark is the N64's most sophisticated first-person shooter, and I urge anyone to play it. Now, interestingly, the Rare Replay does have the remastered version that came out on the Xbox 360 originally, and that is probably my favourite way to play it today, admittedly, but I have so many fond memories of Perfect Dark on the N64. And that brings us to the final 3, and number 3 is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, released in 2000. And this is, of course, the sequel to Ocarina of Time, and many people say this is the better game of the two, because Majora's Mask, it's a bold, eerie, emotional masterpiece built around a repeating 3 3-day cycle. The world of Termina feels alive with non-player characters, schedules, personal stories and quests that intertwine in haunting, beautiful ways. Of course, their whole mechanic of their mask transformations adds a mechanical variety, while the dungeons here, though fewer, are some of the series' most inventive and fun to play. The reason it's probably lower than Ocarina of Time, I find the 3-day cycle, I like the continual progression of typical Zelda games, so the 3-day cycle frustrates, and I do find the tones, they're being more melancholic and surreal. It doesn't what I like the whimsical nature of Zelda games personally, but undeniably, this is a classic and unforgettable and still worth your time. I mean, Majora's Mask is Zelda at its most experimental and artistically daring, and it deserves some love for that alone. And that brings us on to number 2, and of course it is Super Mario 64, which was a launch title in 1996. I think this game is so important because not only did it define 3D platforming pretty much for the entire genre, it really invented the language of it. I mean, Peach's Castle serves as a perfect hub and way to get used to these very unique controls at the time, and each world is a playground of movement and exploration and discovery. Mario's control set remains the benchmark to this day. I mean, it's what pretty much every 3D platformer has followed ever since. It's fluid, expressive and endlessly enjoyable. There's so much content in the game, and the game just simply radiates joy from its imaginative level and upbeat soundtrack. Decades on, Mario 64 still feels astonishingly modern and is a foundational masterpiece, and one that I always still go back to this day. And that brings me on to number 1, and of course it is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, released in 1998, and this is one of the gaming's defining achievements. It's a masterwork of world building, pacing, atmosphere and emotional storytelling. Hyrule feels vast and alive like never before. It's got memorable towns, dungeons, characters and secrets throughout. The Z targeting is revolutionary on the 3D combat, and again was the blueprint for all later games. And the narrative split between a child and adult Link carries surprising weight in the game. Each dungeon is thoughtfully crafted, from tense forest temple to iconic water temple, and the soundtrack is legendary, weaving themes that remain etched into gaming history. Ocarina isn't just the best N64 game, it's one of the greatest games ever made, and I simply adore all this. Now, that's my top 64 list, but the N64 has such an amazing library of games. I just couldn't not spotlight several games. It's actually quite a long list really, of games that I missed out on my list, simply because either my preference in the genre or competition was fierce. Whilst these do sit out my own personal rankings, the mechanics, genres, these titles are still worthy of your time. Really, these honourable mentions stand as a reminder of the N64's incredible breadth, celebrating the games that continue to resonate, even if they fall just shy of my own personal selection. So that brings us on to these honourable mentions, and first we have Gauntlet Legends. This is a fast arcade-style dungeon crawler that thrives in multiplayer chaos. Gauntlet Legends is a wonderful sequel, really, offering simple hack-and-slash fun, colourful enemies and satisfying progression. Sure, like its forebears, the game may be repetitive, but it's lifted up by its pick-up-and-play arcade energy, and the thrill of a 4-player teamwork in the game is a great option that works so well on the N64. This is for anyone who enjoys old school cooperative fantasy brawling. Then we have Gex 3. This is the final outing, and it leans heavily into the TV themed humour and mascot era personality. While the controls do feel stiff, each world delivers a playful concept and varied objects in its tongue-in-cheek presentation and bright level design, giving it charm, even if it never fully escapes the limitations of a mid-range 3D platform mascot. It's one that I do enjoy. Likewise, Goemon's Great Adventure is a wonderfully eccentric 2.5D platformer that blends tight action, quirky humour and Japanese folklore. Its co-op mode shines here, encouraging teamwork through challenging stages and inventive boss fights. It has beautiful sprite work and a memorable soundtrack, making this one of the N64's most stylish hidden gems, and perfect balancing difficulty curve along with its charm. It's one that I really enjoy. Another one that I love is Mischief Makers. This is a unique side-scrolling action game built around grabbing, shaking and throwing everything in sight. Mischief Makers delivers inventive bosses, expressive animations and playful sense of experimentation. Its levels vary wildly in pace and challenge, creating a memorable oddity that still stands out for its creativity and of course the treasure signature flair that we all love. Then we have Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. This is a colourful comedic action adventure blending platform exploration and light RPG elements. Mystical Ninja offers a distinctive world filled with charm, humour and surprising ambition. Its mix of dungeons, quirky characters and giant robot battles creates an unpredictable, endearing experience that feels unlike anything else in the N64 library. Then we have Ogre's Battle 64. This is an ambitious, richly layered strategic RPG with deep unit management and compelling political narrative. Battles unfold with weight and nuance, rewarding thoughtful planning over brute force. Despite its steep learning curve, patience reveals one of the N64's most rewarding and mature experiences, offering exceptional tactical depth rarely seen on the consoles. Taking a different slant is Pokemon Snap. This is a gentle, imaginative, on-rails photograph adventure that captures the joy of observing Pokemon in their habitats. Its short courses encourage replaying to uncover new behaviours and hidden interactions. I'm not really into Pokemon myself, but I still found this game simple and deeply charming, and I loved it back in the day as I do now. Pokemon Snap remains a unique and relaxing experience that rewards curiosity, experimentation and a keen eye. Then we have Rakuga Kids. This is a colourful, hand-drawn 2D fighter with cartoonishly exaggerated animations and a playful tone. Rakuga Kids offers accessible mechanics but surprising depth, with expressive characters and imaginative stages. Its visual style remains eye-catching, and although not widely known by gamers today, it stands out as one of the N64's most distinctive fighting experiences. Then we have Rayman 2. This is a beautifully crafted platformer that highlights the N64's imaginative sides, with fluid movement, lively characters and richly detailed environments, creating a world that feels alive. It blends action, puzzles and light storytelling. I love the Rayman games, and this is no exception. It still to this day remains remarkably polished. I love Rayman 2, and it endures as one of the console's most confident and enchanting adventures on the N64. Then we have Resident Evil 2. This is one that you're probably quite cross that didn't make my top 64. It is technically a remarkable port, and it delivers the full survival horror experience on a cartridge. It does a wonderful version. Resident Evil 2 brings tense atmosphere, tight pacing and memorable scenarios to the N64 with impressive fidelity. It has the inventory management, exploration and cinematic storytelling like the PS1 forebear, and combines to create one of the system's most mature and gripping titles. It also has lots of unique characters and things to the system, which is great and why so beloved by N64 owners. The truth is, I've never been that big a fan of most of the Resident Evil games personally, but that's a personal choice. Undeniably, it's an amazing game. Another one is Robotron 64. This is a frantic twin-stick shooter in the guise of the arcade classic. And it really does have that arcade intensity and minimal distraction. Robotron 64's simple premise: survive waves of relentless enemies, make it endlessly replayable. Its bright visuals, thumping soundtrack and pure Twitch-based gameplay capture the spirit of the arcade original while giving it a punchy late 90s energy. Then I want to shout out Spider-Man. This is a wonderful comic book adventure that really captured the Spider-Man universe. It blends web swinging, stealth and light puzzle solving, and Spider-Man captures the spirit of the character in the comic. He has the expressive narration and varied missions. Its environments today can feel quite boxy, but there is that freedom of movement still and the enthusiastic storytelling that makes it a standout superhero adaptation for the era, and still so much fun today. Then we come to letter T, and I've chosen Top Gear Overdrive. This is a stylish arcade-driven racer with thumping soundtrack and attitude to spare. Top Gear Overdrive feels fast and responsive, offering satisfying boosts, bold tracks and edgy visual identity. While the career structure is simple, the high speed and colourful environments make it one of the N64's more memorable racing experiences, and it really did only just get pipped to the curb, really, of missing the list. Another driving game I love is World Driver Championship. This is an ambitious simulation-leaning racer, showcasing some of the N64's most impressive visuals. World Driver Championship offers challenging handling, detailed tracks and a lengthy progression system. Its demanding physics reward precision over aggression, making it a standout for people seeking depth rather than arcade immediacy. And then finally, on my honourable mentions, I had to mention Yoshi's Story. This is a charming storybook-style platformer with expressive animations and a very gentle, some would say too easy, difficulty curve. Now, Yoshi's Story focuses on exploration and collecting rather than the challenge, and it therefore offers a relaxing pace supported by cute characters and cute art. It's brief as well, but the playful presentation, and whilst it was a disappointment for me back in the day because Yoshi Island on the SNES was one of my favourite games still to this day, it's nevertheless the cheerful tone, it just makes it a sweet, comforting entry in the Yoshi series, and it's still like a warm cookie and milk. It's one to enjoy and curl up by the fire with. So there you go, that's my full list. 64 of the greatest N64 games ever made, well, according to me. From iconic masterpieces to underrated gems, this is a console that delivered far more hits than people remember. Now, if you've enjoyed the trip down memory lane with me, hit the like button and consider subscribing for more retro deep dives. And let me know in the comments which N64 game is your number one. Did I rank a game too high, or a favourite of yours you consider too low, or miss something entirely? Let's get a proper retro debate going on in the comments section, and always, just keep it respectful. So thanks for watching, and until next time, keep it retro.